a deficiency of leadership crisis in the White House and in Washington, D.C. Now, leaders make sure that they're working on the right problem. Leaders make sure that they're setting the right priorities. And leaders surround themselves with the right people, put together common sense plans, and then solve problems rather than creating problems. I still can't understand why our president would go to Brazil, loan them $2 or $3 billion. We're not sure what the number is yet. Loan them $2 or $3 billion, and then tell the Brazilians, we're going to be your best customer. You know, I have a better idea. Why don't we become our own best customer? Let's be our own best customer for energy. We got the resources. We just don't have the energy. And for 2 years, 3 months, and 18 days, this president has been telling us that jobs was going to be a #1 priority. They're in denial that nearly $1 trillion didn't stimulate the economy. They are in denial that they can tax this nation to prosperity. They are in denial that lowering taxes is how you get an economy really going. They are in denial that indirect spending works worse than direct spending. Let me tell you what my direct stimulus plan would involve. #1, lower the top corporate tax rate from 35% to 25% because we're the only nation on the planet that had lowered it. We're the only nation on the planet that hadn't lowered our top corporate tax rate. #2, take capital gains to zero. What part of zero don't they understand? You see, in Washington, they always want to compromise. That's why they don't never fix anything. They compromise too much. #3, suspend the taxes on repatriated or foreign profits. Let that money come back home, nearly $1 trillion without a penalty. This is called a no-brainer in the real world. It's a no-brainer. We have nearly $1 trillion offshore in other countries that have been generated by multinational companies, and the liberals in Washington don't want it to come home unless they can get a piece of it, rather than let it come back into our economy. And #4, let's provide a real payroll tax holiday for a year. A real one. The whole 6.2% for a year for every employee, and the whole 6.2% for a year for every employer. Give every worker in America a direct raise for a year. Stimulate the economy. And then #5 of this 5-point plan. Make the tax rates permanent, because this uncertainty is killing this economy. Businesses aren't going to invest with all of this uncertainty. That's how we get this economy growing. And if you use the same approach that I talked about for all of these crises that I just mentioned, and the approach is the same, folks. It's the approach that every business person uses in order to be successful. They work on the right problem, set the right priorities, surround yourself with the right people, put together common sense plans. Is a 2,700-page health care reform bill common sense? I don't think so. You know, if Herman Cain was president, the bills wouldn't be longer than 3 pages and we could read them. What a novel idea. And so whether you're talking about any of these, the approach is the same. But here's the most important part. As the Commander-in-Chief of the United States of America, you also have the responsibility to be the leader-in-chief and not be afraid to lead. You see, leaders take people to where they would not go by themselves. Leaders don't procrastinate. Leaders aren't afraid to stand up to our enemies. Leaders aren't afraid to say, if you mess with one of our strongest allies in the Middle East called Israel, you're going to have to deal with us also. Amen. That's leadership. Because I got to tell you, singing Kumbaya is not a foreign policy strategy. There's one thing that the rest of the world understands, and that is the strength of America, not a weaker America. And we don't apologize for being an exceptional nation because we are exceptional. Woo! The founding fathers got it right. We now have to become the defending fathers to defend this nation. That's why you're out here today. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm so glad to see so many of you out. And here are the three things that we need to do in order to take back our nation, folks, to get this nation on the right track. Now, you got to first realize that there are about 50% of the voting public, they don't have a clue as to what's going on. They have become mesmerized by the teleprompter speeches and have no idea how dangerous of a track this nation is on. But here's what we have to do with this movement that was referred to earlier. And let me tell you something else. I had a reporter talking to me, and some reporters, not all, you know, all of the good reporters are covering this event. I don't know where the bad ones are. I had a reporter ask me very sarcastically, Mr. Cain, do you think this Tea Party thing is going to fade out? Now we are a thing. You know, a year ago they called us racist. Now, you all may not believe this, but they call me a racist too. Go figure. But see, that's not all that they call me. I have a whole list of names that they have called me because I am a proud American black conservative who call me whatever you want to. Oh yeah, they call me all kinds of names. And one reporter asked me, well, Mr. Cain, does it bother you when they call you names like that? I said, my grandfather was a small farmer, wasn't very well educated, but in my grandfather's vernacular, if you want to call me a name, I does not care. This is America, and I have a right to my opinions. Three things. This is our formula for success. Stay informed. Stay informed. Stupid people are ruining America.
That's right.
That's why we've got to be informed. Number two, stay involved. If you stay home, they win. If you don't share your opinions based upon facts, history, and logic, they win. The only thing that they have to try to discourage us is name calling. Because they shift the subject whenever you want to talk about a serious issue. They ignore the facts because liberals can't handle the facts, and then they resort to name calling. I was doing my radio show out of Atlanta one night when a guy calls up and goes, and this is his voice, Mr. Cain, you are shameless. I said, excuse me, sir, what do you mean by that? You are shameless, Mr. Cain, being a black man that disagrees with our black president. Oh, yes, he did. I said, sir, I have two comments for you, and this may be difficult for you to comprehend. Number one, it may shock you, but a lot of people And a lot of black people can think for themselves. Don't need somebody to tell them what to think. You see, I left that Democrat plantation a long time ago. I am not going back. But I'm not alone. And this administration is trying to put all of us back on the government plantation. It's called too much taxes, too much regulation, too much legislation. The second thing I shared with this gentleman, I was going to assume that he was a gentleman. I said, now this one may be even more difficult for you to comprehend. Whenever we reach a point in our history where we cannot constructively criticize our elected leaders, this nation is no longer a democrat republic. It will have become a nation ruled by tyranny, and some of us are not going to let that happen on our watch. And then I said to this gentleman, have a nice life, because I doubt if I'm going to be talking to you again. Third thing, first thing, stay informed. Secondly, stay involved. And thirdly, stay inspired. Woo! You see, they want us to believe that we can't do this. They want us to believe that it is checkmate for the liberals in Washington, D.C. Stay inspired. You see, the first surprise that they got was November the 2nd. When we took back control of the House of Representatives.
Yes. Amen.
The second surprise that they got was that hundreds of you, or thousands it looks to me, are out here today at another one of those things called a Tea Party rally. They can't understand that. So we have some other surprises for them. Stay inspired. Believe that we can do this. I had to remind someone earlier today, if that handful of passionate founding fathers didn't believe that they could create a great country, we wouldn't be here today. This nation had to believe that we could make it through World War I, and we did. People had to believe that we could make it through the Great Depression, and we did. This nation has made it to where it is today because of patriots like you believing in the spirit of America, never giving up on America. I didn't start out with much in life. My mother was a domestic worker. My father was a barber, a janitor, and a chauffeur, all at the same time. Because he knew that in order to achieve his American dreams, he was going to have to use the only kind of equity that he had when he walked off of that farm, sweat equity. And he achieved his American dreams. That's what inspires me. If Dad can do what he did to achieve his American dreams, starting with literally nothing, and I've been able to live my American dreams and dreams, then we have a responsibility to make sure that our grandchildren will be able to live their American dreams based upon their determination, motivation, and inspiration. Not somebody else's. And in 1999, when my first grandchild was born, and I looked into that little face, the first thought that crossed my mind, what do I do to make this a better world? That's what we all think about. You see, folks, it's not about us. It's not about us. It's about the children and the grandchildren. That's why you're here. That's why I'm here. And that's why I believe we are going to win this fight. We are going to win this fight. And to close, I have to go back to some of the famous words of the Gipper, the great communicator, when he reminded us, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction.
Amen.
We can't pass it on in the bloodstream. It must be fought for protected.
Amen.
Or one day we will spend our sunset years telling our children and our grandchildren what America used to be like. I don't know about you. I now have 3 grandchildren. And I'm not going to have that conversation with mine, and I don't think you're going to have that conversation with your grandchildren. And at this Tea Party here today in Chicago, and all 50 of the Tea Parties I have spoken at over the last year, we have a message for President Obama, his administration, and the liberals in Washington, D.C. The United States of America is not going to become the United States of Europe, not on our watch. God is blessing